focused on you.
New at 4, details about a deadly crash in downtown St. Louis that left one person dead and another person seriously injured. Good afternoon. Thanks for being here. I'm Kay Quinn. Brent Solomon has the day off. That crash happened shortly after 8 last night on Convention Plaza. 5 on your side's Diamond Palmer is live at St. Louis City Hall, where leaders are debating the best way to prevent crashes like this from happening. Diamond?
Well, Kay, Alderman Rashean Aldridge says the number of deadly crashes happening in our city downtown is, quote, a violent pandemic. The latest one happening last night on Convention Plaza. Police say a man crashed into another car and his vehicle rolled onto his roof. The driver, who has not been identified yet, was rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Aldermen have been debating the best way to keep crashes like this from continuing to happen. Alderman Rashean Aldridge has been vocal about the need for red light and speed cameras, but he says it's not the only solution.
How do we put more traffic calming measures? How do we put more speed bumps? How do we put more curb bump outs? How do we put things in the middle of the street so pedestrians are safe when they're walking, but it also slows down vehicles? St. Louis has some very long blocks. And just because you have a camera at the end of the block may not catch the person. So how do we really start to upgrade our infrastructure?
2 people in the other vehicle were taken to the hospital, one with serious injuries. And this evening, St. Louis police saying they're still trying to determine if speed was a factor in that crash. But Alderman Aldridge says he wants to implement things like roundtable discussions and even rehabilitation programs for dangerous drivers. Reporting in St. Louis, Diamond Palmer, 5 on your side.
All right, thank you, Diamond. That deadly downtown crash is near the intersection where an out-of-town volleyball player suffered catastrophic injuries after being hit by a car in February of 2023. The driver of that vehicle now faces charges of criminal action and assault. Hours ago, jury selection began in his trial. Daniel Riley is accused of causing the crash that resulted in 17-year-old Janae Edmondson losing her legs. His trial begins Tuesday. 5 on your side's Christine Byers will have much more on the jury selection process tonight on 5 on your side at 5 and 6. Right now, 4 children killed in a house fire in Ferguson are being laid to rest. A private visitation is underway. 2-year-old Millie Spader, 6-year-old Jackson Spader, and 9-year-old twins Ellie and Ivy Prusner are all being remembered in one service. Millie and Jackson's dad, Jared Spader, is asking for the communities to send donations to the St. Louis Region Critical Incident Stress Management Team for first responders. Donations must be mailed in. You can find out how to do that. We have the information when you look for this story on ksdk.com. We now know the identity of the man who was shot and killed last night in Fenton. Police tell us 39-year-old Jarvis Person was killed when a 20-year-old man shot him. It happened in the Jefferson County side of Fenton and Matthews Drive. The sheriff's office says the shooter allegedly tried to stop Person as he was assaulting a woman. Police say Person and the woman were in a relationship. The shooter knew them. Police have not released the shooter's identity, but say he is in custody and he is cooperating. The owners of Northview Village nursing home now face fines of tens of thousands of dollars. That facility closed abruptly late last year, leaving workers without a job and residents without a place to live. Federal documents now show regulators fined the owners more than $56,000. In a report, inspectors say they found the place in chaos. Theft was a problem. An elevator was stuck for 30 minutes, and one man was missing for 3 weeks. We've reached out to the owners of Northview Village for comment. We have not heard back. A cool and cloudy first day of March in the bi-state. What you'd expect for this time of year, but you're going to be able to leave those jackets behind this weekend. Meteorologist Gary Frank in the Weather First Weather Center with word of a warm-up.
Yeah, and I think we're getting to the time of the year where you turn your heat on in the morning in the car, and then by the afternoon, the windows are down. That's what we're going to see. Now, not so much today, as it's still a little bit cloudy as we look downtown. The wind is really calm, though, so that's overall all positive for us. It's 48 degrees. We have an east-southeast breeze at 3 miles an hour. As we look over Forest Park right now, you can almost see a little bit of rain off to the east specifically, so taking a look at that, there are a couple of very light showers. Maybe some of it's not reaching the ground, while there are breaks in the clouds in other spots. Zoomed in, and some of this rain has essentially fallen apart, but it was really near Greenville, Vandalia. You're north of Troy, you may see a sprinkle as well. Don't be surprised, it's not going to impact you this evening. A little sun coming out in a few spots as we're getting closer to that 6 o'clock sunset. However, temps won't change a lot. The next few days, there are warmer mornings ahead. I know tomorrow is cooler, but warmer versus the last couple of days where we had teens and 20s in some cases. It's a really nice weekend, though. Like you mentioned, it is excellent, but then we're going to start to turn to more significant rain chances, which we need it to some degree. We'll look back at what we can expect over the next few days past the weekend and if we'll stay above average.
All right, we'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you, Gary. Right now, immigration is a key issue in the race for the White House. Both President Biden and former President Trump visited the southern border yesterday. The two have different messages on how they'd address immigration policy. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez has more.
Immigration front and center in the 2024 campaign after a dramatic split screen in Texas, with President Biden and former President Trump visiting the southern border about 300 miles apart at the same time.
Show a little spine.
The current president in Brownsville, Texas, blasting House Republicans for torpedoing a bipartisan border security bill at Mr. Trump's urging, but also offering this olive branch to the former president.
Join me, or I'll join you, in telling the Congress to pass this bipartisan border security bill. We can do it together.
The Republican frontrunner in Eagle Pass, Texas, blaming the Biden administration for the record-breaking influx of migrants.
Our country is being poisoned. We're really being poisoned.
And pointing to the recent high-profile crimes allegedly committed by migrants, including the murder of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley, whose funeral is set for today.
Joe Biden will never say Laken Riley's name, but we will say it and we will remember.
An NBC News review of available data shows crime has actually dipped in cities that receive the most migrants. Still, a recent NBC News poll shows Mr. Trump holds a 35-point lead over Mr. Biden among registered voters when it comes to which candidate would better handle the border, while Mr. Biden holds a 17-point lead on treating immigrants humanely. Here at Brownsville's bus station, we met migrant families heading to Chicago and Houston after they'd waited months in Mexico for an initial asylum screening, booked through an app on their phones. The children were tired. The parents were worried.
These are people's lives. These are people's futures that we are basically playing with or using as a pawn. In no way or form should we ever use that for political gain.
That was Gabe Gutierrez reporting. Well, it's official. The CDC now says people who test positive for COVID-19 no longer need to isolate for 5 days. The agency released new recommendations today saying people don't have to isolate once they're fever-free for at least 24 hours. The new guidelines reflect similar rules for other respiratory viruses like the flu. Health experts still say getting vaccinated and wearing a mask around others who are sick, those are the best ways to prevent illness. It's known as a corporate university, the massive training facility now up for sale, and the big question mark about the price. Art as therapy will take you to the North County nonprofit with a unique ability to heal.